Hello, everybody. This is Mynders Glover, and I want to welcome you to this special webinar today with my special guest, Marisa Murgatroyd. And what we're going to talk about is how to translate your big vision into a compelling message and magnetic brand to give you more clarity, income, and freedom in your business in 2013. Now, certainly that's a mouthful, but if there's anyone who can deliver on that, that is Marisa. And what I want to do right now is I want to introduce you to her. And first I'm going to tell you a little bit about her background from her bio, but then I want to, now that you have that frame of reference, I want to tell you my personal experience. So here's the thing about Marisa. She has a background that brings together professional work in diverse fields like writing, photography, filmmaking, print design, publishing, web design, internet marketing, and special events media. So she is not only a web strategist and branding expert, but because of her background in a number of different areas that you'll soon find out about here, she's an expert who helps doctors, coaches, creative entrepreneurs expand their influence online. And basically what she's done is she integrates all their marketing efforts online, from email to social media, to create a powerful branded experience that drives traffic and converts visitors into long-term clients. Early in her career, she was a documentary filmmaker, print and web producer, and she spent much of her life creating media along the way. She's produced dozens of large-scale web video design and interactive media projects for large clients like the Getty Museum, PBS, UCLA, State of California, and so forth. And these different projects have netted huge numbers, over 75,000 units, millions in sales, won 30+ industry awards, and so forth. And so all of this experience obviously translates into her expertise that she's now here to talk to us about. And she has a program called Live Your Message, an entire system to help clients get things done quickly, effectively, and in the most authentic voice that they can bring to the table. And so with that background, I think you understand how Marisa wears the branding hat so effectively. I first got to know her about 1.5 years ago at a large live event down in Phoenix, and was immediately attracted to her charisma and enthusiasm. She's the kind of person who makes a tremendous first impression and follows that up with the goods. She's got that blend of professionalism and natural approachability that's really contagious. And as I talked to her and got to know her over the coming months, I really got the sense that she understood at a deep level what it takes to effectively communicate with her audience. And I was so impressed that I decided to have her do my rebrand. From all the people out there I could choose, I decided Marisa was the one. And any day now, my new branded website and all the peripherals are going to be available, and you guys are going to see it. So I have the privilege of bringing her here to speak to you guys, and the reason that I wanted Marisa especially to talk to you is because she has the piece that is so important in bringing your product to market that I can't speak to myself. I can speak to the process of marketing a product and creating the launch protocol to move it forward, but that whole domain beforehand on really getting to know what you want your message to be and who your market is, and how to convey that in the way you deliver it in the audio, visual, and print, is something that she has a rare expertise in. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Marisa.
Thank you so much, Mynders. It's really a pleasure to be here and speak to your audience today, because I've just enjoyed thoroughly the process of working with you over the last few months as we launch your new brand at myndersglover.com. So coming soon in the next month. So I'm going to do something that I've never done at the beginning of the webinar. I'm going to attempt to tell a joke. I'm actually a funny person, but that kind of joke punchline thing doesn't always work for me. So stop me if you've heard this one before. Two websites walk into a bar, and one of them, let's call him Larry. You'll see him on the left. He's waving his arms around, he's screaming, he's trying to get attention, and nobody's paying attention to him. He can't even get the bartender's attention and get a drink. Now the other one, and we'll call this guy Steve, just walks into a bar, and within seconds, he's got the women, he's got the beer, everybody's paying attention to him. It's like he's magnetized them. So what I want to answer in this presentation is, what's Steve doing that Larry isn't doing? What's our first website Steve know that Larry doesn't know? And first of all, Steve understands how to beat the odds. So let me show you what I mean by how to beat the odds, because this is what we're all up against online. So there are 2.4 billion people online, 2.4 billion. And that's really, really good news, because that means that anybody that you want to reach with your business, regardless of what your niche is, regardless of whether you're a speaker, you're an author, you're a coach, you're a consultant, you're a software developer, you're an artist, you have an audience online that's ready and waiting to hear from you, if you know how to package and position yourself. But here's the rub. There are also 634 million websites online. That means you're up against 634 million other sites. You've got to stand out in a really crowded environment and get noticed day after day if you want to build a business that's thriving. And there are another 51 million new sites that are coming online each and every single year. So if you do the math, that's 140,000 new websites each and every day. So the vast majority of these are never going to get noticed and are never going to turn a profit. The vast majority of these are like Larry. They can't even get seen. So in this really crowded space, in this space where everyone's got ADD and barely pays attention, you're always just 3 seconds and 1 click away from total oblivion. So the research shows that you have just 3 to 7 seconds to grab someone's attention, or you're going to lose them forever. Because the vast majority of website visits are single visits. If someone goes to your site and they leave without taking an action like sign up for your mailing list, you're never going to see them again. The good news with that 3 seconds and 1 click is you're also always 1 click away from your very best customer, your most raving fan, your biggest partner, right? So when you master that 3 seconds, you can really transform your business almost overnight. And Larry, in our website, our popular website, Steve, gets this. He understands he's got 3 to 7 seconds to make a first impression, and he knows exactly what to do in those 3 to 7 seconds to inspire his audience to keep reading and click through. And notice I use the word inspire. It's not about persuading, it's not about selling, convincing, arm twisting, beating someone over the head with a hammer. It's about inspiring them to want to move forward with you. So we're going to talk about that a little bit later, but first I wanted to ask you, how many of you here are like Larry, our unpopular website, who's waving your arms and screaming and just not feeling like you're connecting with anybody? And how many of you are like Steve, our popular website, who's kind of got it going on? So take a minute and type into the questions box whether you're Larry or you're like Steve. And by the way, we'll be using this questions box throughout the presentation today. So if I ask a question or if you've got a question, just type it into that questions box and I'm going to be able to see it, okay? So I'll see your answers and on the call today too. And she'll take care of you if you've got any kind of technical challenges or anything else. So just take a moment right now and type into the questions box and let me know if you're like Larry, if you're like Steve, so I can get a pulse of who's on the call today. All right, so I see a few different Larrys. Kind of a lot of people say they're like Larry. And, Will says he's got no website. And I also see one, and Honor also said she's like Larry. And I see one person who says they're like Steve. So congratulations, Jill, you've got it going on. You're just like Steve. And, there's still going to be a lot you can get out of this presentation. But if you're like Steve, you've got a website that you love, a website that brings in subscribers and followers and customers every single day. And if you're like Larry, well, then either you don't have a website, or you have a website you're embarrassed about, or you have a website that just sits there without getting any kind of results for your business. So what I'd like to do today is show you all how to be like Steve, how to have not just a website you love, but a message and a brand that you love too. So to be clear, to be that clear and that inspired about who you are, what you do, and why it matters, that you can instantly convey to your audience, whether you're meeting them for the first time in a bar, at a networking event, or online, exactly what you do. So on this webinar, I'm going to give you some amazingly potent tools that will change everything about how you look at your business and transform the work that you're doing on a daily basis. So you can go from doing that busy work that's got you kind of spinning around to the real important stuff, the stuff that's going to send the right message to your tribe about what you do and help you attract the right people, the kind of people who respect your time and skills and are willing to pay for it. I'm also going to show you how to position yourself in the most effective way so you can charge what you're worth and create a unique and authentic brand and web presence that's going to allow thousands of people to find and connect with you on a deep level. But first, let me tell you how I went from being like Larry to being like Steve. So in 2009, I started my first company, Be Seen Boldly, and at the time, I was just like Larry. You know, I thought if I have a website and I just offer my stuff, I'm officially going to be in business and people are just going to start hiring me, right? Wrong. Nothing could have been further from the truth. I was working like 14 hours a day sometimes, and between the client work, between building my site, my social media, my blogging, my networking, I was doing everything that I could to make it work, everything the gurus were telling me that I needed to be doing, but I felt stuck. You know, I felt like I was going nowhere fast, right? I felt stuck because I didn't love my business name, and I wondered if I was in the wrong niche. I didn't have the clarity to figure out what my real message for the world should be. I felt stuck because I was embarrassed about my website, and I was avoiding giving people my business cards because I didn't want them to go check out my site and see what was there. So I also stopped short of doing the key marketing activities that was going to get my message out there on a massive scale. I also felt stuck because I was attracting the wrong kind of clients. You know, people who complained about my prices, who didn't appreciate me, who didn't respect my expertise despite my career in agencies doing large-scale projects for big organizations. So I felt stuck, and I was getting really discouraged, like more and more discouraged every day because the work I was doing just wasn't getting me the attention I deserved or the impact that I craved. So I knew that I had a big message for the world. I knew that I could help a lot of people, but I just couldn't figure out how to get it out there on a massive scale. And the worst thing about it is that I didn't feel like I could change my business name. I didn't feel like I could change my business model because I'd already invested so much time and energy and money into creating it. And I'd hired this coach for like $20,000, this well-known coach, and he told me to just keep doing what I was already doing. But I knew that it wasn't right, and I felt like I was just digging myself deeper and deeper into a hole. So I want to check in with you guys for a second. Is anyone here experiencing one or more of these things in your business right now? So let me know in the question box. Let me know what's going on for you.
Great. Well, Marisa, while you're waiting for those answers to come in, 3 months ago, this list was me before we started our process. I was spread all over the place with my message, trying to fulfill a lot of different sub niches, and I just couldn't absorb all of the input that was coming my way from the internet. And so through the process that you took me through, and as I look now, as we're about to unveil the end result, I can see the other side of the fence. I mean, this is absolutely awesome.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think we all end up in this kind of vicious circle of, throwing good money after bad, good energy after bad. And the more we throw into it, the more invested we feel, and the less we feel like we can actually change and make the kind of changes that are going to bring us some results. So absolutely, I see Anra say yes, and I see Mike saying, glad I'm here, and I've got a website that needs work, and I've been working on content. So I feel like a lot of you are resonating with this, right? And so for me, like I got to the point where something had to give, right? And something did give. So what changed everything for me at least, was a conversation with a friend. And when I say conversation, what I mean is more of a business intervention, right? My friend sat me down and he said, look, Marisa, you're not Be Seen Boldly. This brand and this business doesn't reflect who you are and what you really do for people. It's holding you back. And I thought with him, right? I was telling him, you know, it's good enough and done is better than perfect. At least I have a website. At least I've got clients coming in, right? You know, I wasn't ready to just throw in the towel and start all over again. You know, I'd invested, like I said, so much time and so much money. But I clearly had hit some kind of ceiling where I was going nowhere fast. And Eduardo, he just saw through me. He wouldn't have it. And he said, you know, settling for what you have is just not an option. It's keeping you from going to that next level, from having the success that you deserve and reaching the people that you want to help. You're better than that, and you need to show it. So I was kind of floored in that moment, you know, tough love, and it hurt. But I realized he was right, and I realized that I didn't want to waste any more time running myself into the ground trying to stick, you know, Band-Aids on a business that was broken. I knew that I had to figure some things out. So here's what I did. You know, I stopped taking clients. I cleared my schedule for a few months, and I took a step back to work on myself and my business. And it was thanks to that work on myself and my message that everything started to change. It all started clicking in a way that it never had before. So I rebranded myself as Live Your Message and launched the web presence that you see today. So during 2011, that very first year after I did this work, Live Your Message really started to explode. And the very first indication that things were working is that I was able to raise my package rate with every new client. So I started at less than $10,000 in 2011 to over $20,000 today. And now I'm able to ask for and really get fairly easily $5,000 a day for my consulting. So based on what I learned, not only reinventing my own business, but reinventing the messages, the brands, and the web platforms of a lot of thought leaders like Mynders, like Dawn Crowther, who Mynders works with, like Alexis Neely, Morgana Ray, Michelle Schubnell, Evan Mark Katz. I was really able to create my first program, Message to Money, and we accepted over 100 students into the program last year. So even better, I've been able to expand my team, adding Deborah, who's on the line answering everybody's questions, who I love, you know, Sophia, my social media manager, Jamie, my researcher, and Murray, who's my copywriter and my marketing wizard. So now we're able to touch the lives of tens of thousands of people in a really deep, meaningful way. And that's important to me. You know, it's like my big vision for the world, for myself, has finally happened. And I've been able to really explode my income. You know, the very first year after I reinvented my message and my brand as Live Your Message, I tripled my income from $58,000 to $176,000. And this year I'm on track to do that again, if not even triple it. So we should, you know, net somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000 this year. And I'm not saying that to brag. I mean, the money is nice, but what this has allowed us to do is to really live a lifestyle, you know, being location-independent entrepreneurs, living in Thailand and Bali and New Orleans, that fuels us and charges us to dream bigger and to impact more people. Gives me the energy to show up every single day and do the work that I need to do to kind of get it myself out there. And of course, what's really, really the most fulfilling thing is that I'm able to, like I said, help thousands of people to translate and distill their big vision for their business into a really powerful and emotionally evocative message that their audience is going to understand and want to be a part of, and to help them build all the web systems they need to get it out there on a massive scale. So I think a lot of you on the call would agree with me. If I ask you what you want out of this webinar, you're going to say what matters to you is to make a difference. You want to impact the world, and that's really where a lot of entrepreneurs these days are coming from. You know, I think Steve Jobs said it best. He said, we're here to make a dent in the universe. And I really believe that. So the way I make my dent is through supporting entrepreneurs and small business owners like you to empower them to be amazingly successful doing what they love. And it's because of that that I'm delivering this training to you today. And because of that I really want to make it clear that this is a different kind of webinar. So you've probably been to your fair share of online training events over the past few years where this guy comes on, you know, and he doesn't really teach you anything. He follows the same sort of format where he tells a few stories, he teases you with some good content, and it's basically this hour-long pitch fest. And just as he starts to get to the good stuff, you know, he says, okay, time to buy my program, you know, give me $2,000 and I'm going to give you the good stuff. So That's not what I'm going to do here today. And I want to check with you today. Have any of you had that experience? Have any of you actually been on a webinar where someone just showed up and they just started pitching you and teasing you and not giving you any good stuff and then expected you to kind of buy from them at the end of it? Let me know if this is true of your experience, if you guys have had that experience. I know I have. So I see a few of you. Anra says, yes, it's disappointing. Mike says, I don't stay with those folks for very long. So absolutely, you guys have been there. You've done that. And I want to be really clear here today that this is not that kind of webinar. I do have a training program at the end. I am going to invite you to join me, and if it's a good fit, I'd love to work with you. But regardless of whether you buy anything from me or not, you're going to get a huge amount of value from this training, and you're going to walk away from this call with some things that you can put to use right away in your business. I'm going to show you everything I possibly can before we get around to talking about anything that I have to offer. And more than that, it's really important for me to speak to the things that you want to learn. It's important for me that this training impact you in a meaningful way, and I've been dialoguing with a few of you over the past few days about what you want to learn and what you thought was missing if you took a good look at where you are right now and where you want to go in growing your business. And what I want to do is share with you what one lady by the name of Lisa Brown wrote to me before she became a client, because I think it's going to resonate. Here's what she wrote to me. She said, I've struggled with the essential task of translating my vision into a compelling message and attractive online platform that feels truly exciting and authentic to both me and my potential clients. I just did not know how to make sense of all the moving parts and felt overwhelmed and confused. As a result, my efforts were piecemeal, non-strategic, expensive, and ultimately disappointing. So I want to ask you, does that sound familiar? Is what this lady wrote, does this articulate what you guys are feeling right now? Does this resonate with you and your experience? So if this is your experience right now, if this really captures what you're feeling, then today I'd like to stage a business intervention for you, just like my friend did for me 2 years ago, so you can really receive the kind of results that I'm seeing now. I'm going to show you what's not working and how to fix it. A little tough love if you like, but of course, only if you give me your permission and with your best interest at heart, all right? So today we're going to cover a lot of ground. I'm actually going to walk you through the 6 steps that I took after my intervention and the same 6 steps that I lead my $20,000 plus clients through. So I guarantee if you do this stuff, your business is going to transform and you're going to start to see results within a few weeks. As you get really clear on your message and you bring this clarity into everything else that you're doing, into every conversation, into every interaction, into every piece of content and every piece of copy. When everything you do is that clear, that's when your business starts to open up and transform, where everything seems aligned and coherent and consistent, and things start to happen for you. So if that sounds good, I've got a favor to ask. From now until the end of the session, I want to ask that you guys commit to actually working with me on your business, because I'm going to be leading you through some processes and some exercises that really do need your full attention and your focus, okay? So if you're going to see the benefit, I need you to be completely with me, and that's the only way that I'm going to deliver real value today. So let me know in the question box that you're here, that you're on board, and I want to wait for a second for that commitment, because otherwise, I'm wasting your time, and I'm here as an entertainer, and I want this to be a real intervention. I want this to be a moment where you can do things differently from this point forward, not just some edutainment, All right, I've got some people saying I'm in, and yes, and yes, and yes. So fabulous. Thank you so much. I look forward to this. So if you're on board, just do a few quick things for me now. I want you to go full screen on GoToWebinar. I want you to shut down your email, shut down your Facebook, and take some notes. And take notes, not focusing on what I'm actually saying, but focusing on the actions that you want to take in your business, the things that actually apply to what you're doing right now, and how you're going to start implementing this tomorrow, okay? Great. It sounds like you're in. So what happened to me during those first 3 months when I reinvented my business, all right? So I'm going to tell you exactly what happened and exactly how you can apply the system to your business right now. So the very first thing is I had a massive realization. I realized that I was starting from the wrong place, that I was doing the right things at the wrong time, right? So most people, regardless of whether you're a coach or a consultant or a software developer, they start at those three outer rings, right? They start with their content, right? Growing their content strategy, building their programs and services. They start with their website, I got to have a website if I'm going to have an online business and if people are going to buy anything with me. Or they start to grow their tribe through marketing. They start kind of blogging and sending out social media posts, right? So here's what happens when you do that. If you're not clear on who you are and why you're different, nobody else is going to be clear either. And what happens is you start to put the wrong messages out into the market. You send unclear messages, you send mixed signals, and people just don't understand what you're about. And you're not supporting and building an audience who's interested in what you have to offer, right? You're just kind of throwing stuff against the wall, throwing out blog posts, throwing out content, hoping to see what's going to stick. And what happens is people land on your site and then they bounce right off without taking any kind of action. They bounce away without signing up for your mailing list, without buying your products and services, and you've just lost a huge opportunity, not just to make a client, to make some money, but to transform somebody's life with what you know, right? The other thing that happens is people get completely obsessed with their content, right? To package up all of their knowledge, all of their expertise into products and services. Because everybody's being told that content is king, that all you need to do to have an information business, to be an information entrepreneur on the web, is to have a product. But here's the problem with this approach. Information is cheap. Anybody can go onto Google and type in a search and get like millions of page results back in return. So what makes your information different from everybody else's, right? So many people start by just putting their information together, but they haven't figured out what gives their information value, what makes their information different from everybody else. And they end up in this commodity market, the commodity market where everyone's just trying to do it best, better, or faster, or cheaper. And what happens in this commodity market is it's just a race to the bottom, and everybody's kind of selling similar products and nobody's differentiating themselves. So somebody comes along and they do it better and faster and cheaper than you. And then the next time you want to release a product, you have to start all over again because you haven't built your brand, you've built up this product, But when you take a step back and really focus first on what I call the center, of your world, everything changes. So after spending 2 years spinning around in those three outer rings, what I realized is that it didn't matter how pretty my website was. It didn't matter how much marketing I did. It didn't matter how good my products and services were if I did not have the core words and images to express my brand, right? In other words, until I was dead clear about who I was, what I did, and why it mattered, nothing I did was going to make a difference. I mean, sure, I could get clients and make some sales, but it felt like every single sale was an uphill battle. Like I had to persuade and convince and talk to them for hours at a time, and I wasn't getting the kind of blockbuster success I imagined. So if I was going to really take off, I needed to take an inside-out approach. And here's the thing, nobody really talks about this kind of stuff. No one really wants to focus on this middle part, the center, the core of your business universe, because it's not sexy, They want to talk about the tricks, the tactics, the strategies, the magic bullet solutions for marketing your business online. But they don't talk about, are you sending the right message to your audience? Are you resonating with them? Are you really positioning yourself relative to everyone else out there in a way that's going to inspire your audience to say yes to you? That's going to inspire them to want to pay those higher rates to invest in you. So the reason why nobody talks about this stuff is they'd rather stick on that Band-Aid solution for your business and bring you a few bucks today. They'd rather help you build a business, that's just short-term, maybe flash-in-the-pan success, if that, than to help you build that long-term business, to help you build that platform that's going to grow and evolve with you for years to come. And the other reason no one's talking about this stuff is that there's this myth out there that all that branding and positioning stuff, all that messaging stuff, it's just for the big businesses. It's for the Fortune 500 companies who've got millions of dollars to blow on like Super Bowl ads, right? And nothing could be further from the truth, because if you think about it, why are you guys here today? You guys are here because you got an email from Mynders, right? You got an email from Mynders, and you decided to show up and discover what it was all about. Of course you were interested in the content. You were interested in what I had to say. But the reason why you really showed up is because you trust Mynders. You've built a relationship with him over time. And now he's transferred that trust to me. And now you're here on this call to hear what I have to say. And now I've got the opportunity to build this relationship with you, right? It's because you either trust Mynders or you trust me that you're here today. It's because you value us, because you feel like you have a relationship with us. So if we say that you should come and check this out, well, here you are. So you see, it's branding that allows you to attract the right people into your tribe. The kind of people who respect your time, who respect your skills, who are willing to pay for it, and who are going to become those repeat customers, you know? Not the complainers, not the lookers, not the people who are just going to waste your time. It's branding that allows you to charge a premium for your products and to get hundreds or even thousands of students and customers. And it's branding that allows you to position yourself and become recognized as the #1 authority in your particular field, you know, in your niche, the person that everybody wants to work with. So I've got a great tool for helping you create this memorable, this kind of electric brand that's coming right up. But first I want to give you a quick example of how brand works in the real world by telling you the story of Lori Dupart, right? Lori Dupart used the power of brand to really catapult herself from unknown to #1 authority in ADHD coaching within just a year. And so Lori, let's look at where she started and where she went, because I think it's really significant and really helpful to see this pathway. So Lori originally had a site that her audience just couldn't stand if they noticed it at all. You know, it was so badly designed for her audience that they literally just couldn't figure out what was going on. You know, she thought that she could create this kind of mellow environment that kind of modeled the client experience that she provides for her clients, but her site was so calm that her audience hardly noticed it, right? Her audience was like all about the shiny new thing. You know, they could barely look at something or listen to something for a few seconds. So if you and I have got 3 to 7 seconds to make a first impression, she was lucky to have 1 second, right? So we sat down and we spent some time thinking through what people with ADHD would most likely want to see. What's going to capture their attention for long enough to get their fingers off that back button? And on her list were things like bold colors, high contrast, attention-grabbing graphics, you know, really simple, straightforward design, super big headlines. So we worked together and we came up with a new design for her that completely worked to instantly captivate the attention of her audience. And I'm going to show it to you right here, right? So her audience loved it. So much so that since she launched her new platform, she was able to release 2 books, including a #1 Amazon bestseller. You know, she was able to host a telesummit, to release several products and even double her rates. So she's seen a 250% increase in her income and like a 10-fold increase in her list size. More importantly, she's been able to apply this brand across her entire product suite, you know? So she's created the sales funnel that's been able to elevate her from go-to expert status, and she's developing new products every single month. So the work that we did gave her that message, that confidence to launch herself and stand for something beyond what she does. So from her newsletters, whether it's her newsletters or her PowerPoint templates or her website or her products, her materials stand out from everyone else in her industry. So now when you start from the inside and you work your way out, when you really get that center down first, it's like everything becomes so much easier. Not only do you have the clarity that you need to produce your content, your website, your marketing, but you've got the vision to integrate it all into a consistent whole. You'll have the message and brand that you can carry through to everything that you produce. So it all looks like you, it sounds like you, it feels like you. You're sending this one super clear, coherent message through everything. No more piecemeal strategies, no more mixed messages or inconsistent signals. You know, people are going to now finally start to get you, right? And feel like they can trust you. So everybody knows Tony Robbins, right? He said that the path to success is to take massive, determined action. And I completely agree with him. I'm not telling you to try and stop taking action until you get it perfect. But the thing is that you've got to take the right action. And the right action isn't building a lot of stuff and putting it out into the world and just hoping the right people are going to find you. That's about as likely as winning the lottery, you know? The right action is taking a step back and taking a look at what's inside your center. All right, so are you guys ready to work on the center of your business with you? All right? So have any of you guys heard that in order to get anywhere, you need to know where you're going? All right? You need to have a plan. You've got to have a map. And nowhere is that more true than in business. And it's not your fault if you don't feel like you've got that big picture vision. What happens is that when you're in the thick of it, it's often not easy to see the big picture that's possible for yourself, you know? But the thing is that your message and your brand, it's got to be in service of your business model, in service of your business goals, or you're just crafting like juicy words and pretty pictures. So I'd like to encourage you to take a moment here and to really dream big and think about what you want to be and what you want to do here. Because it's those outrageous, those unreasonable goals that really propel us into action and get us moving even when we don't feel like it, when we're feeling lazy or the going gets tough, you know? So the value in doing this, the value in really thinking through my roadmap hit home for me last spring when I sat in the audience of my coach and my mentor, Brendan Burchard. I was at his 10X Empire event. In the very first day, Brendan just waltzed on the stage and he asked, does anybody here want to know how I got a $2 million book deal? And of course we were all like, yeah, you know, tell us, how'd you get a $2 million book deal? And he said, 5 years ago, I sat down and asked myself, what would it take to get a $2 million book deal? And then I set about building that. And this statement kind of floored me, you know, it was so brain dead obvious. But here was this guy who's that intentional, that strategic about his business that he was literally able to create a $10 million a year empire within 5 years. That made sense to me. You know, if you're going to achieve that kind of success or even a fraction of that kind of success, you've got to create a vision for what's in your future and then reverse engineer everything else around that. What I mean is that you've got to look back from your destination and write down the actions that are going to lead you to that future you designed. So what's your $2 million book deal? And what do you need to create to get there? So regardless of what it is for you, I'm willing to bet that the very first step in getting there is to start in your center, to really nail that message and that brand. So let's focus now on steps 2 and 3. Let's focus in on your message and brand. So step 2 is the very crucial step where we start to empower and energize your message to really connect and land for your audience. You know, to communicate who you are and why what you do matters to them, not just to you, but to them. And that's the critical distinction here. Because if you can't get people to understand you or even pay attention to you, if you're like Larry who comes to the bar and can't even get a beer, then you're going to have a really hard time getting them to buy from you. So getting your message right, getting the words you use to describe yourself and your business is probably the single most important thing that you need to do in your business. And because it's so crucial to your success, I'm going to lead you through one of my fill-in-the-blank message templates. I call this exercise your XYZ statement, and it's just one of over 20 positioning exercises that I lead my students through to help them really create this kind of memorable, this authentic, these business names and taglines and headlines that are going to stand out. So a great XYZ statement, it's kind of like a magic spell that allows your audience to really understand why they should care and to start asking you, tell me more. How do I sign up? Do you have a card? Because so many people get this wrong, I want to show you first what not to do, okay? So in our culture, where our identities are so tightly woven with our work, one of the very first things that you hear people ask is, so what do, you know? And when most people do, when they're asked that kind of question, is they say something like, I'm a lawyer, or I'm a life coach. And the conversation, it just kind of peters out. It stops right there because your audience, your listener, the person you're talking to, has just put you into a box labeled lawyer or life coach, and they've closed the lid. They think they know what you're about. Right? And now what happens? You move on to talking about the weather, your favorite sports team. But if you've had a little bit more training, you might have said something a bit more specific. You know, you might have said, I'm an intellectual property lawyer, or I'm a holistic life coach. And that gives your listener a little bit more to hang their hat on, but it still doesn't tell them who you help and why it matters. So while they may at that point nod in recognition, they may say, you know, I gotcha, you still haven't let them know why they should care. And no one's going to keep listening if you don't make them care. So crafting an XYZ statement that actually does this is easier than you think. You really only need 3 pieces of information. All right, so if you're ready to give this a shot, grab your pen for a second because we're going to work through this right now and fill in the blanks here. So first, let me give you the formula. I help X do Y so that Z. I help my ideal client do this result, outcome, or transformation so that they can receive this benefit. So let me share how I personally fill in this statement. I help entrepreneurs and small business owners translate their big message for the world into a leading brand and a lucrative web platform that positions them as the #1 authority in their field, so they can get more clients, have more impact, and find the freedom they've been looking for. So are you interested yet? I hope you are, but the thing is, if you're not, it doesn't matter, because that means you're probably not my ideal client. And it's completely okay not to resonate with everyone. In fact, you don't want to. Your offer only needs to work with your ideal client. And everybody else is going to go away. So you're going to be able to focus in on the people who actually care and are interested in what you do. So are you getting this? Instead of leading with I design websites or I'm a life coach, you're telling people work with me and you're going to get this specific result. And the reason why this matters is this. So if you've done this well, and if you're talking to someone who actually needs what you have to offer, you're going to start to see some telltale signs. First of all, you'll see that flash of interest in their face. You're going to see their eyes light up, and you're going to hear them ask the questions, the kicker questions, like, tell me more. How do you do that? And what I call the home run question, do you have a card? And I get that one a lot. And so I carry around a big old fat stack of cards. But when you're really good at this and when you get it, it's going to transform your business, right? Do you see how that works? So I want you to practice this XYZ statement until you're consistently getting positive responses. So try out different variation and watch to see what hits home. Because mastering this one simple statement, this elevator pitch, if you will, is going to completely transform each interaction you have. So now, as I mentioned, I've got like 20 of these messaging templates, templates such as the guru, the storyteller, the inventor, the metaphor, the slogan, and the mashup. Those are some of the names for these templates. And we don't have time to cover all 20 of them today, but I'd like to give you one more of them if you'd like to hear it. And I call this next template the Big Promise. And the very first step of Big Promise positioning is to ask yourself the following question. What specific outcome or experience can I promise my clients that they want, but they just can't get anywhere else? So a big promise is often used to name a business, to name a product, a book, a program, in a way that really positions you differently from everyone else in your market or niche. And doing this exercise is an easy way to get super clear on your message and your entire brands. So let me give you a few exercises, a few examples of big promise positioning that are from the entrepreneurial world. Okay, so first up, we've got Alicia Dunham's. She has a program called Bestseller in a Weekend. How to go from idea to author in 4 hours or less. Now we've got Evan Pagan's Wake Up Productive. In 90 days, you're going to wake up twice as productive as you are now. Then we've got the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Powerful lessons in personal change. And Jesse Canone's The 7-Day Back Pain Cure. How thousands of people got relief without doctors, drugs, or surgery. So now let's drill down on this a little bit further. So the reason why each of these statements and these titles work so well is that they all use what I call the 8 principles of effective messaging. They all make a big promise that's both credible and aspirational. They're also just super clear, super specific, and simple. Finally, they all evoke curiosity. You want to know more. And they're unique to the messenger, which is you, by alluding to your specific process and framework. And they exclude people who aren't your customers by letting them know who it's for and who it's not for. So these 8 principles of effective messaging apply across all 20 of these messaging and positioning templates that I teach my students. Because once you get your message right, once you internalize these principles, it's like people are just magnetized by you, They literally feel that you're the person, the only person who can help them. And you're going to start getting emails this one. I'm currently working with a high-ticket mastermind group. My membership is coming up for renewal, and I was thinking of not rejoining and exploring how Marisa can help me to take my business to the next level. Can you give me an idea what Marisa charges for VIP days? I'd like to have an idea so I can plan on it in my budget, so that when I have that discovery session with her, I know what to expect. Are we in the 5K, the 10K, the $20,000 range? So how many of you would like to get these kinds of emails? You know, if this doesn't show you the power of getting your center right, getting your message, your brand, your positioning right, I don't know what does. All right, so let's move on now to step number 3. Let's move on to branding. At its core, branding is the art of creating a consistent image, feeling, and experience across a universe of possibilities. And the good news is that you get to define what you want that experience to be by choosing to represent and run your business in a way that nobody else does. And it all starts with that first impression. You may have heard that you only have a few seconds to grab someone's attention, and the truth is that you only have 3 to 7 seconds. And in that 3 to 7 seconds, there's some really big things that you got to do. You know, as you can imagine, there's actually an art and a science to it. And to help get it right, I'm going to introduce you to something that I just love. It's one of my favorite things, actually. It's this little-known 4-step framework called the product reading sequence, or the way that our brains actually experience and perceive new information. So this powerful marketing framework says that if you can give your audience the right information in the right order, you're going to engage the problem solving or the pattern recognition area of their brains, and they're naturally going to do a better job of making sense of what you're all about. So let me tell you how this product reading sequence works. Imagine that you're walking down a supermarket aisle, you know, preferably a really big supermarket, and there are rows and rows of products on every side of you. And each one of these products has already done something pretty amazing. They've gotten onto the shelves of these big box stores, but they've still got to do something even more amazing. They've got to get you to stop and to take them off the shelf and put them into their basket, right? So if they're an established brand, it's not going to be that hard because your chances are you kind of recognize them already. But if they're a startup product, they've got to work extra hard because they've got to compete against these tried and true brands on the shelf next to them. They've got to beat them out. So how can they possibly compete? How can they do this? Can anyone guess? Does anyone want to take a stab at it? What's the first thing that these products have to do to compete? So write something in the chat window if you've got a sense of what it is. You know? Does anyone know? All right. I think you guys are guessing it right. So the very first thing that they got to do is to simply get noticed, to stand out. And you often do that through the visual cues that your brand sends out. I'm talking about things like really bold contrast, you know, vivid color, powerful words and fonts, prominent shapes and patterns, striking graphics, and expressive faces that evoke emotions. So I want you to think for a second about your website. Are you guys using themes or stock graphics that everyone else uses that don't get attention? You know, are you using a free site builder to create and host your site and you only got like 5 themes to choose from that don't give you the impression that you want? Or do you, God forbid, have Vistaprint business cards that kind of look just cheap and chintzy? Right? So once you do get noticed, people move on to step 2 in the product reading sequence. They ask themselves, what is this and where am I? And only then does your business name, your industry, and your product or service category come into play. This step is about being as crystal clear as you can about what you do as possible. This may sound obvious, but it's not. I mean, how many times have you gone to somebody's website and you just had no idea what they were all about? This happens more often than not. You'd think this was basic, but so many people overlook the fact that they've got to be clear about what they are, who they are, and what they do. I mean, we're all so in love with what we do. We're so close to it that sometimes we can't see how other people are perceiving us. We can't see that we're not being clear. So are people right now, do they know what you're about from your website? Do they get who you are and what you do and how you can help them from your business name? Do people ever tell you, you know, I went to your website and I wasn't really clear on how you can help me? Have you ever had someone glaze over when you tell them what you do? Well, it's not because there's something wrong with you or your idea. It's because you're not clearly expressing what you do in a way that actually lands for them, for your audience. So think back for a moment to that big promise positioning exercise that we did a moment ago. You know, your big promise dials right into what you do for your audience. And like I said, this is the critical distinction. You've got to convey what you do in a way that matters to your audience, not just in a way that matters to you. When you incorporate your big promise into your headlines, into your taglines, into your product names, you're going to breeze right past this step of the product reading sequence. People are going to quickly get what you do, and they're going to go to the next step. So once people get what you do, once you've kind of grabbed their attention and they've noticed you, and if it's something they're interested in, they're going to move on to step 3. The next thing they're going to ask is, why should I care? We really are that simple. Grab my attention, tell me what it is, tell me why I should care. And we're also just that busy and distracted. Our brains process like 2 million pieces of information each second. And out of all those pieces of information, the brain only allows 5 to 9 of them to actually rise to the surface of your conscious awareness. So not only do you have to be noticed, you also have to strike an emotional chord and actually make people care. And oftentimes that tagline, that headline, that promise that we just talked about works at both levels. It tells people what you do and it inspires them to care. So one way to gauge the effectiveness of the stuff is to measure how many people are taking that next step with you. How many of them are signing up for your mailing list? How many of them are filling out your free consultation form? How many of them are liking your stuff, commenting on your blog posts? Because if not, you haven't made them clear, care enough to take action. So you want to go back and look at that big promise. You want to go back and look at that XYZ statement and tinker more with it, okay? So now only if they're still interested, because you've gotten them to care, are they going to move on to step 4? Are they going to ask, okay, tell me more about it? And only at this point do they want more information that's going to actually support that why to care message. All those features, all those benefits, all that price and guarantee information that we love to tell people about, right? So if you've seen one of those really long online sales letters that don't get to what's inside of the box and how much it costs until the very end, well, that's because people don't care until they've gone through steps 1 through 3. And we've seen those sites before. We've been to them. We've experienced it where they lead with the sale, where they go straight for that sale, and it's like an instant turnoff. We go beeline for the back button because nobody wants to be sold to like that. Nobody wants to be sold to before they even know who that person is and why they should care. So the important thing to remember about the sequence is you can't do it in reverse. So many people start with a flood of information before they've even gotten noticed or let people know why they should care. And their businesses suffer because of it. This is where Larry, our poor misunderstood website, went wrong. He thought he could wave his arms. He thought he could scream out what he wanted, but nobody noticed him or cared because he had no idea, what he was doing wrong. He just thought to himself, some websites, they get all the luck. So if you lead with features and benefits and someone just wants to know why they should care, you're going to come across as indifferent or out of touch. And you're going to confuse people and ultimately lose them before you've had a chance to even make a lasting impression. So I call failing to stand out and failing to make people understand what you do and why they should care in those critical first few seconds, the leaky bucket syndrome. Because I see so many entrepreneurs wasting time and money fixated on all those marketing activities in their business universe without first plugging the holes in their business. So if you're directing traffic to a website that violates the product reading sequence and fails those first 3 seconds, then it's not going to convert new visitors into leads and clients. And like I said, all your time and effort that you spent on marketing is lost. But if you do get the sequence right, it's going to explode your business in a good way because you've leveraged the power of this product reading sequence to get attention powerfully and tell people what you're about and why they should do business with you. And once you have this product reading sequence down, you can apply it to everything else you create. So let me show you how this works. Your brand is about much more than your logo, but like it or not, that logo and the business name and tagline associated with it is the most visible representation of your brand and the touch point with the strongest associations. So now that most people what most people do is that they focus on creating just a really cool looking symbol, kind of like a one-off that they put on top of their website, on top of their business cards. If they're really hardcore, they may put it on like a coffee mug or the side of their car, and those kinds of people. But your business name, your tagline, your logo is much deeper than a sticker. So one of the 12 elements of branding is extendibility. What this means is that you want to craft your brand identity in a way that can easily extend out to other products, to other contexts, right? to other materials in a way that provides something of an ongoing motif. Think about it like an extended metaphor. So if you go back to that example I gave you before, if you go back to Lori Dupar's Coaching for ADHD website, you're going to see that the gears are an element that we use over and over again on her site and throughout her product suite. The gears provided us with this really amazing kind of recognizable graphic system that we could continue to use, right? So while it's fabulous to have a really great logo and a brand concept that sits on top of your website, and it's more than a lot of people have, this stuff becomes even more powerful when you think about the visual elements of your brand, like a graphic system. This is going to allow you to create a whole set of materials that look and feel like your brand, rather than kind of a disconnected series of one-offs where you have to reinvent the wheel each and every time. This can save you a lot of time and a lot of money as you unroll new products and services, which I know you guys are going to do. So, for example, really imagine your Twitter page having the same theme, the same colors and elements as your Facebook page and your website. Imagine your opt-in pages looking, kind of aligned as well. And all of your products too. So you're actually going to start, if you do this, if you actually take into consideration brand extendability, you're going to actually start to get known just by your colors, by your fonts, by your graphic system. People are going to instantly recognize you. But it gets even better than that, because this kind of integration, it kind of almost magically bestows on you, your brand, a huge amount of credibility and authority because you instantly look the part. So you go from being bit player to A-lister because you're sending these powerful cues, these signals that only the major players are sending. So it's not hard and it's not necessarily expensive. You've just got to tune into what your brand experience is all about and how to represent that visually in a way that kind of works with the product reading sequence. Great, so now that we've covered the first 3 steps in my message to money system, I want to take you back for a moment to where we started. I want to take you back to your business universe, or all of the different places that people interact with you and your business. So you can think about each touch point kind of like a doorway that someone walks through to enter your business and to enter your world. And this time we've got your business, your message, your brands, and your positioning right there smack dab in the center. The question is, where do we go from here? As we've already seen, most people get really overwhelmed when they see this because they feel like they got to do it all at once, They got to dabble in this and that. They got to put out their website. They got to put out their blog, their Facebook page, send out press releases, go to networking events, form partnerships. They got to do it all. And the challenge is that with so many possible doorways and touch points, it's super easy to get distracted and overwhelmed with everything you think you got to do to build a business, everything that everybody else tells you got to do to build a business. So what happens is that you dive right in and you start putting up all these doorways, and they're like these kind of fake doorways in one of those old black and white movies, where Charlie Chaplin opens the door and he steps through and there's nothing there and he like falls to his death, kind of like when you visit a website and you sign up for someone's email list and you get like 1 email from them and you don't hear from them again for 3 months. So what I'd like you to do now is to really focus on a few doorways that matter. The doorways that are actually going to move the needle for you and your business, and to do those super well. Because it's true, there are a couple doorways that you got to have, There are a few things in your business universe that are absolutely essential. They're kind of non-negotiable. If you don't have these doorways, you can't be doing business kind of things. And those are your website and your offerings. So don't worry if you don't got this yet. This is something you can build towards. But you really do have to have those things if you want to have a thriving business. And what I want you to do is to build those, or to kind of update those in a way that really reflects your message and your brand, that really differentiate you and that really inspires your audience into action. So I don't have time in this webinar to lead you through my processes around your website and around your offerings. But the goal here is for everything to be connected and integrated so you get the most out of everything that you put in. So you know that once someone walks through a doorway, they're not going to fall. They're going to be well taken care of and well on the way to becoming a client or a fan. So once you have those 2 down, all you got to do is pick 2 to 3 more things that you want to focus on, 2 to 3 things like blogging, like email marketing, like social media, joint ventures, or speaking. If you've got your center down, if you've got your website and your offerings in place, and then you're doing just 2 to 3 things on a weekly basis to grow your tribe, that's the basis of a 6-figure business and beyond. The question is, how do you choose the 2 to 3 things that you should be focusing on? Okay, so what I want you to do is to first think about 2 things. First, I want you to choose the stuff that you're really good at, that you actually want to do, because you're going to be more likely to follow through with them. A lot of people pick strategies that they think they should be doing, and then they never get around to doing it because they hate them. So, if you're a speaker, you might want to do a radio show, blog talk radio or video, rather than kind of writing blog posts, because you much prefer to be out in front of the camera talking to people, right? And the second thing that I want you to consider when choosing your 2 to 3 kind of marketing vehicles is to make sure that you consider where your audience are and how they want to interact with you. If they prefer social media, if they prefer video, then try to give it to them if you can, because you're going to get a better response when you do, and your job gets a whole lot easier. So take a moment and think about what 2 to 3 areas you want to focus on, okay? What 2 to 3 areas do you want to focus on over the next 12 months? Because if you do just these 5 things, your website and your offerings, plus those 2 to 3 things in the way that I've shown you, where you're clearly and confidently positioning yourself in the market, then over the next 12 months, I guarantee that you're going to have clarity on your unique message for the world, so you can confidently and authentically share it in a way that inspires your audience to say yes to you. I'm going to guarantee that you'll have more impact in the world. It's going to literally open the floodgates to a passionate, loyal, and engaged tribe. That you're going to have more income through your services, your products, and your programs, and that you're going to find the freedom through creating an authentic business that allows you to live in your genius zone, where you're making the biggest difference in people's lives, and you're doing it on your terms. So using this model, starting from 2011, I was able to triple my income the following year, and I'm on track to at least double it again this year. And that's what I want for you too. So I'd like to check in with you one more time and ask, how did you like these exercises that I covered today? The what's your $2 million book deal look like? Your XYZ statement, your big promise positioning, the product reading sequence, brand extendibility, and your business universe. And what did you think of the 6-step plan to gain clarity, income, and freedom in the next 12 months? Did any of you have a flash of recognition? Did any of you have some good ideas? Were any of you excited about the possibilities? Just go ahead and type your answer into the question box. Tell me what you think. All right, I see Anra says, you rock. Well, thank you, Anra. Really appreciate that one. And fantastic stuff. Okay, it's great to see. Thank you so much. Because at the start of this call, I promised to show you how to get clarity on your message, how to use it to generate more income through products and services, and finally the roadmap to claiming the freedom you deserve. So what I'd like to know right now is, did I deliver on my promise? Do you feel more connected to your message? Can you see what's going to allow you to clearly, confidently, and authentically share it in a way that literally inspires people to say yes to you? So let me know in the question box, did I deliver on my promise to show you the path to a clearer message and brand, to clarity as well? All right, I see Will says, very well done. Thank you, Will. So I'm glad to hear it, because it's really important for me to keep my word, to keep my promise. And I guess the next question is, the real question is, are you ready to get started? Are you ready to end the confusion and the frustration, to stop settling and really put the rocket under your business, to give it the boost that it needs to blast off over the next 12 months and beyond? Are you ready to do it? And the answer is, it depends. And the reason why it depends is that when it comes to your business universe, especially when it comes to the center of your universe, it's really easy to get stuck. Stuck because it's hard to see yourself like your audience sees you. Stuck because you're too close or too in love with what you do to really see yourself objectively and to make the right choices moving forward. And I've been there. The details and the implementation, they do matter, which is why you can, why you can't really move forward when you don't have it right. You got to strike the right chords and choose the right words and understand which signals to put out into the world. And all that can be a little bit tricky. So I couldn't teach you all of these details in an hour, and I didn't have time to sit down with you one-on-one and really find out what's going in your business right now. Because when it comes to your message, your brand, and your positioning, as you've seen, it's not always something you can just paint by numbers with. And while I do have all these messaging templates that really help my students get clear fast, it's often the conversation, the dialogue, the back and forth that sparks the biggest breakthroughs, allowing you to connect the dots and really see the vision that was there all along, to see the messaging and to see the brand, because it's both an art and a science. So working with me privately like this costs tens of thousands of dollars, and my clients have been thrilled with the results. But I can only help so many people one-on-one, and I want to help lots of people, So I've created a training program that teaches many of the same strategies, but does it affordably. And I'd like you to join Message to Money. So what I want to do right now is take about 5 to 7 minutes to tell you what's inside this training. Then I want to go to Q&A and really answer all of your questions. Any questions you have about the program and any questions you have about the exercises that I led you through today. So here's what you're going to receive when you join us in Message to Money. It's a 6-module training program delivered weekly starting April 17th. So each module contains 1 to 2 hours of training video by me personally, along with downloads and worksheet exercises that are designed to help you figure out what's really important, what do you really got to get and start implementing in your business. So along with each of these six sessions, there's a live Q&A coaching and training call with me where you'll be able to ask me all the questions you have about how to implement that week's materials in your own business. So you have 1 week to learn and 1 week to implement before we move on to the next module. In Module 1, we're going to start with discovering what your roadmap to freedom looks like, the exact steps that you need to take to reach your highest goals. And I'm going to take you by the hand and literally show you the path to success. Then in Module 2, we're going to dive into the nuts and bolts of your big message for the world, why you do what you do and who you serve. You'll get my entire collection of powerful exercises and templates to create a compelling, crystal clear message that's going to inspire people to do business with you, plus my personal guidance to create your pitch perfect message. Then in Module 3, you'll discover why your brand could be turning off the very people that you really want to be turning on. I'm going to show you how to fix it fast using things like the 12 elements of effective branding, things like brand extendibility, to help you create that platform that's worthy of you and your big message for the world, and a platform that's going to allow you to make that impact. In Module 4, you'll learn how to create a content and product funnel that's going to turn a trickle of product and program sales into a flood to really create that healthy income. You're also going to find out how to effortlessly package your knowledge and move your customers and clients up through your offerings without being hypey or salesy or sleazy in any way. Then in Module 5, you'll discover my best practice tips for building a new website or tweaking an already existing website that's going to really skyrocket your results. You'll learn all the different ways the product reading sequence can help you stand out and get immediate kind of massive attention. And I'll show you how to take those 5 goals I shared and design each of your websites around that goal so you're converting visitors into subscribers, followers, and buyers on every single page. Then in Module 6, you'll learn exactly how to open the floodgates through blogging, social media, email marketing, partnering, and more so that your tribe finds you. As I mentioned already, you're also going to receive access to 7 live support calls over the entire training period. So you always have the opportunity to ask me questions one-on-one that crop up as you watch and implement the trainings, right? In these live group coaching calls, we're going to have a lot of Q&A where I'll review the work that you've been doing, where I'm going to answer your questions, actually hot seat you, and make sure that you're on the right track. And I always stay on every single call until every question is answered, and sometimes these are questions that are emailed to me from people who can't make the call. So naturally, I do want to give you everything that I've got because I want this to be a no-brainer for you. I want you to see the value, and I want you to kind of take the step in your business. So you're also going to get Hidden Story Power, which is a crash course valued at $197 in how to find and tell your personal story in a way that will transform your business. You'll also get Walking in Your Client's Shoes, my bonus training, which shows you how to fine-tune your marketing message so it speaks directly to your client's soul. You'll also receive complimentary access to the Message to Money Facebook group. It's a private group where you've got 24/7 access to the entire community and can kind of bounce your ideas off of them. And speaking of my other clients, I got my favorite bonus. So I'm so confident of the progress that you're going to make and the results that you'll achieve in your business between now and October that I'm going to give you 2 complimentary tickets valued at $1,000 to Message to Money Live in Los Angeles. So I know that you're going to have the ways and the means to hop a flight and to dedicate a full weekend to focusing on your business and celebrating your success with your fellow alumni. So there is a lot of content, and I don't throw it out at you in one big lump. I really delivered over this very carefully structured 14-week training roadmap. So the program is delivered every other week for 14 weeks, which really gives you time to take it in and put into practice each module before we move on. So every other week, we've got the live training calls where you can bring me your toughest questions, your kind of branding challenges from that week's training. It's really easy to follow. You don't get lost and you don't get overwhelmed, and you have lifetime access to the materials, including all of the updates and the Facebook group. So you never feel like you're doing it alone. You're also going to be able to go at your own pace, whether that means diving in and getting started super fast, or whether that means taking a full year to really think through and build what you need to build, create what you need to create. So I also wanted to tell you about the guarantee I've got for you in this program. I've decided to really take all the risk out here to help you decide to try this out. You're not going to have 30 days to try it out, because a lot of people don't even have a chance to sample the program at this point. You're not even going to have 60 days. I'm going to give you a full guarantee for the entire training, the entire 12 weeks. So that means you get to join the Message to Money program and go through the entire 12-week program to benefit from every single one of the 7 group support calls with me, to take advantage of your guaranteed hot seat time, to enjoy complimentary access in the Facebook group, to get your bonuses, hidden story power, walking in your client's shoes, and only after all of that do I want you to look back and tell me if your investment was worth it. And if you're not just super excited about everything that you're learning and all the results that you're seeing in your business, then I actually want you to ask for your money back. And it's kind of hard to believe that with all this value, this program doesn't cost tens of thousands of dollars like working with me privately. It doesn't cost the magic $19.97, $14.97, or even $9.97. You can get started with me for just $197 today, plus an additional 3 payments of $197, which start a month from now. So that's just a total of 4 payments of $197, and that's it. You're done. Or if you prefer, you can invest with a single payment of $697. So we really keep the investment low because we want to make this vital training accessible to the people who need it. So I hope you see that we keep the price low, we guarantee the results. As long as you come to the live calls, as long as you ask questions and do the work in this program, there's no way for you to lose money. And if you don't believe I deliver what I promise, you get your money back and we part friends, The only way not to get results is if you sign up and don't do the work. So on that note, if everything I've described sounds good to you, and only if everything I've described sounds good, then go to liveyourmessage.com/M2M. That's liveyourmessage.com/M2M, and we're going to type it into the chat box here for you. So if someone can just click on the link and make sure it's working properly, that'd be great. So if you go to that link, you're going to see at the top of the page a big orange Add to Cart button. If you just click on that button, I'd absolutely love to work with you. And I'm not going to give you this whole false scarcity thing right now. I'm not going to say if you don't buy this program right now, you're never going to get it again and your life is going to be miserable and you'll never amount to anything, because that's not my style. So I really want you to get results, and I also know that it's important to work with someone who's gotten results for themselves and for others. So I want to quickly share with you what a couple of my students have to say, and then we're going to move on and answer all your questions. So Gina Hyatt wrote in to say, because of your training, I was able to attract a sponsorship opportunity that put me in front of 700 people, got me 500 people on my mailing list, and made me $20,000. And here's what Anna Graham Hunter, the job happiness coach, wrote to say. I tell everyone how amazing this program is. Others were practical. Yours was transformational. By far the best investment I've made, jam-packed with incredibly valuable information and soul-searching exercises. The feedback-rich community of the private Facebook group and Marisa's one-on-one attention during the coaching calls provides everything you promised. I was overwhelmed at everything I needed to do. Thanks to Message to Money, I now have a crystal clear idea of where I'm going with my business. Most importantly, I'm doing it now. So I'd like to hear the same sort of things coming from you. So if this training is right for you, I'd love to work with you. Just go to liveyourmessage.com/M2M and sign up right now. All right. Shall we move on to Q&A?
I think that's a great idea. Marisa, that was fabulous content. Really, really good stuff. And I'm amazed. I just went through this, this process with you, and I still learned a whole bunch of stuff on this webinar.
you. Well, I'm not the kind to deliver fluff, you know.
That's right. So while you're waiting for questions to come in, let me just tell the group, from personal experience, I have become acquainted over my 5 years plus online with a number of people who work in the branding arena, even extending that out to PR and the like. And I never was attracted to anybody else until Marisa, because I felt that I was getting, a group presentation on concepts, and it was up to me to decide how to apply them. And I can tell you from having worked with Marisa, now she worked with me directly on my website, but I also have been through her course. And everything that we applied to do the website that I hired her for, was the groundwork was laid in the course. So if I were the type of person that I wanted to just do the whole thing myself, I would have gone just through the course and not hired her personally. But the course is that comprehensive, and it's also great for me to have someone who can implement it, because that's my weakness. So I can't speak highly enough about this course and working with Marisa.
Mynders, I love working with you too. And Deb, do we have any questions?
We do have some questions. I have a question here from Jen that says that this is about my niche. I'm a small business coach that focuses on technology companies. I specialize in interactive agencies, but the common element is those that want to get paid beyond the by the hour by selling products. Will Message to Money help me bridge this divide?
All right, so what it sounds like, Jen, is that you want to go from working kind of one-on-one to kind of having a bigger impact by packaging your knowledge into products and services. Is that correct? All right. So what absolutely, this is something that we cover, because one of the things that I want to do, and one of the things that the Message to Money program is built around, is actually creating a platform that's going to grow and evolve with you. Not a platform that's just where you are right now with the services that you're currently offering, but to look forward at where you want to move your business. If you want to leverage and scale your time so you're not hitting that ceiling of one-on-one, then we'll look at what the next step is for you, not just in serving people one-on-one, but how to create kind of a framework and a process around your knowledge. So I'll show you how to start paying attention to the things that you do over and over again with those one-on-one clients, those kind of technology clients, and figuring out whether there are certain things within that process that you can turn into a product that those same clients are going to really resonate with. And that's not only going to help you bring in another income stream, it's going to help you stop having to say the same thing over and over again, because you can just refer people to that client, to that particular product, and it'll free you to do more meaningful work with people. So absolutely, I'll definitely show you how to structure your knowledge and your offerings in a way that can help you move and to jump that divide between working one-on-one and having products in group programs that can reach lots of people simultaneously.
Oh, that's great. And as you were talking about niche, Ingamar also said, I didn't know I had a niche, but I do now. Thank you so much. So what you delivered today was definitely helpful.
Awesome. Well, that's a huge breakthrough for you.
And we also had a question here from Anra from the group saying, could you possibly go over the big promise positioning summary again?
Absolutely. So the big promise is basically what you do, what outcome or transformation or benefit do you do in your work that nobody else can do? Basically, what is that big promise that you offer? If somebody does your work, what's the promise of the program for them? So I gave you a bunch of examples because it's a promise that's got to be very clear and specific. Something like the 7 habits of highly effective people. You know that there are 7 habits you've got to learn. You also know if you do these 7 habits, you're going to be highly effective. So if you're kind of the couch potato type, you're not going to want to use that sort of positioning. Or if you're not trying to appeal to the couch potato type. You're actually sorting through your audience and letting them know the kind of person that you're talking to through the language that you use in that big promise positioning. And by the way, I do also see that Anra has a question about the calls, when the calls are going to be. And the calls are going to be at 5 p.m. Pacific on every other Wednesday starting April 17th. And the reason why they're at 5 p.m. Pacific is it's the time that most people can make, which is 8 p.m. Eastern. And what I do, because I do have clients all over the world, I've got clients in Europe, and it's kind of late at night for them, it's sort of 2 o'clock in the morning, is that they email me their questions in advance, and I still cover them all at the end of the call. I cover all the questions that have been emailed. And one or two of them have actually woken up at some point when they had a really crucial thing they wanted to discuss with me at 2 in the morning, just for a single call to kind of move the needle for them. But that's when we're doing it. Of course, all the calls are going to be recorded and posted to the membership site. So you will have access to them.
Perfect. I'm glad you saw that one just came in. That's always a good question. I have a question here from Susan who says, I wanted to ask about the group coaching. Will I get time with you?
Absolutely. You know, as I said, I actually stay on the line until every single call is answered, and we've had some calls that go quite a while because I stay and I do answer every question, and I also answer every question that's been emailed to me. And you don't necessarily have to stay on the entire call. If you don't want to, you can come and you can answer your question and leave. But a lot of people get a lot of benefit from hearing other people's breakthroughs and hot seats as well. And I actually really like it when you show up and you ask questions, because that's what really allows people to learn. And like I said, when it comes to your branding and your messaging and your positioning, it's a little bit different than learning a tactic, like how do I create a Facebook page? You kind of need to be in conversation with someone, which is why I continue to offer this program live and to do these live calls rather than, you know, just having it be training that you go through on your own. So yes, you know, absolutely, I guarantee that time. So I do stay on as long as you've got questions.
Wonderful. And I have a question here from Sebastian that says, Marisa, I'm just starting out. Is this right for me?
I love that question. And the reason why I love that question is that it's the perfect time to get started. So it doesn't matter if you don't have a website. It doesn't matter if you don't have products. You are at the point where you can get started without making all of the mistakes that I've made. You know, I have spun around for a couple of years because I didn't have access to this information. So you're really able to have access to me and have access to all of the learning and investment that I've made. I mean, I've invested like over $52,000 in like 2 years in the top coaches, the top marketing experts, and I've kind of field tested, which is one way that we're different, is we've actually field tested all of these strategies in the brands and in the people whose sites we're launching. So absolutely, it's a great time to do it because you'll also get super clear on the center of your business before you create anything, and that just means that everything you create is going to be that much more powerful.
So I'd like to interject on that question, because that really is, you know, at the core of what you have to offer. And from my personal experience in working with clients, that is that we get so impatient to implement that, you know, we have a rough idea of what we want to do, or we have a particular project or goal in mind, that we jump in and implement it. And then, as you mentioned in your presentation, Marisa, we get a little bit down the path and we've got to start implementing from scratch because we haven't built a foundation for the new product, and they may not tie together. And not only have I seen that in people I work with, but I have to admit that the first 3 years of my business were spent in that cycle myself. And I'm the type of person that, in order for that work to have meaning for me, I have to do something unique and express, you know, my unique ability. And the first 3 years I was contributing in a very crowded space. And so this process, you know, has really, really helped me to get real clear and to speak from my core.
Absolutely, and I've enjoyed watching you, you know, try different things and to really take that time to get clear.
Wonderful. I have another question for you, Marisa. It comes from Rick, and he says, how do I avoid feeling overwhelmed by all the different ways to communicate my message?
Absolutely. So the way you avoid feeling overwhelmed is to focus in on just the 2 to 3 kind of touch points, the 2 to 3 doorways in your business universe that are really going to move the needle for you. So like I said, a lot of people try to do everything simultaneously and they end up doing nothing very well. So of course, one way to avoid being overwhelmed is first to have that kind of clarity before you enter into it. So the work that you are doing is focused and targeted and on message, and you know you're doing the right things. The other way to avoid being overwhelmed is just focus on a few of them. Those other strategies are going to be there for you later. But if you really do 2 to 3 touch points super well, on top of, say, your offerings and your website, you can really take off fast. And I recommend that highly, and I stand by it.
Wonderful. I have another question here from Khalifa saying, what are the characteristics of a clear message, and how do I get clear on what my message is?
So I think I mentioned the 8 principles of effective messaging earlier, and they include things like simplicity, clarity, specificity, exclusion, talking to who you want to talk to and who you don't want to talk to. Also curiosity, right? Invoking curiosity. There's uniqueness. What is unique to you, right? Those are all principles of effective messaging. And a lot of the ways to get clear on your message is to do some of those templates that I showed you. To start practicing it with people and to seeing what lands, to seeing how they respond. And then to tweaking and trying different phrasings, different iterations of that, until you start to get the response that you want, until people start to be excited about what you do.
That's perfect. Let me take a quick peek here. Mike was saying that this was great. You actually helped him develop a real plan while he was on the webinar today, so a big thanks to you for that.
You're welcome. I'm glad to hear that.
And let me check to see if I have any more questions here. I have a question here from Shanti saying, is there a rule as to how long the homepage needs to be, 2 or 3 paragraphs, or should the latest blog be in the homepage?
I definitely recommend, if you're blogging, to have feature blog posts at the bottom of your homepage, because that gives you a dynamic page rather than a static page. If you only have the same content over and over again, there's not really a reason for people to come back to your site. In terms of the amount of text on your homepage, it kind of depends on who your audience is and what you do for people. Certain audiences prefer text content, some audiences are more graphic oriented. The thing is, though, is a lot of people are moving so far into graphic designs that people don't actually get what they do. They haven't given enough copy to actually inspire them and motivate them. So I consider your homepage kind of like the function of what an air traffic controller does, where they direct you down the runways, they direct you down the appropriate runways, where you really want to direct people into the right spots in your site. So you want to tease content just enough that they get a really good idea, enough to want to click through, but then they know where they need to go. So that's kind of my recommendation. There's no hard and fast rule, but you can find the right combination based on your audience, and text does sell, so don't avoid it.
Okay, wonderful. Let me take a quick peek here. Mike also said that today was a good kick in the pants.
Awesome. I try. It was my intervention.
Yes, like you said. Let's see here. I do have another question for you here. It's from Fifi saying, I'm a fine artist and I'm struggling with deciding whether I should brand myself as my name or whether I should use a company name.
That's really a big consideration. There's a lot of different factors in making that choice, and one of them is based on how you want to run your business. If your business really is about you, if you are your business, and it's often the case for an artist that you really are your business, I'd say the vast majority of artists brand as themselves, then I'd recommend branding as you. But if you're forming more of an artist collective, if you want to have a more community-focused brand or message, I met a poet on the street in New Orleans the other day who's got a site called freshpoetry.org, which is all about street poems. And fresh poetry is actually more memorable than his name, Tristan Bennett. So if you've got a confusing or a challenging name like Marisa Murgatroyd, I didn't choose to brand as me, because imagine having to spell that, every single time I got in a live call, go to marisamurgatroyd.com, it's not pretty. I don't want to have to do that. And people aren't going to, they remember my name, but spelling it right and all those different factors Plus, I wanted my business to be about more than me. I wanted it to be bigger than me. I wanted it to be about my message. So that's one of the reasons why I went with Live Your Message. But as an artist in certain fields, most of the time you do go with your name. But like I said, there's a lot of different decisions and kind of factors involved in that choice.
Beautiful. I have a new question that just came in from Will. He says, I'm a longtime business owner and I have sold the business and have just begun the transition into becoming a coach. I would hope to be attracting the first few clients within the next 3 months. Collectively, this will be a full-time commitment. I assume that what I am doing is something that could meld well with your offering. Thoughts, please?
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, by the way, and moving on to becoming a coach. You know, I work with a ton of coaches, and a lot of times the strategy on attracting those first few clients is really about that clear messaging and that clear positioning, and also how to package what you do into not just like single coaching sessions, but really into packages that offer specific transformations that have that kind of big promise positioning that will get your audience from where they are to where they want to go, and even doing things like telling your story in a way that models the journey for your clients that they want to take. So there's absolutely a lot that we're going to cover in this program that will help you over the next few months as you get those first few clients. So, and also I know that having this context, having me, having the community, having the materials and the programs to kind of tune into really kind of helps provide you with some level of accountability and structure as you build your business. This really is a business brand building course, and I can definitely help you with that.
Wonderful. I have one more question. Do we have time for that?
I do, yeah.
Okay, perfect. So Chandra asks, I have a blog that is not monetized in any way. At this point, I am just interested in building an audience. Is this something you can help with?
So it sounds like you're interested in both monetizing your blog and building an audience. So for sure, you know, if you've got a blog, there are different ways to actually structure the blog pages that will help drive people and let them know that you're not just a blogger, you actually have things to sell. And there are ways to integrate call to actions throughout your page. So you're not just getting people once who maybe stumble on your blog through, say, search engine, you know, a Google search, but actually capturing their names, the email addresses, so you can build a longer-term relationship with them. And I think that there are ways to, once you get clear, you know, if you're super clear on what you're blogging about, to actually start to identify places to guest blog and to leverage other people's audiences to partner, so you get a flood of people all at once rather than kind of working with people one by one, trying to attract viewers and readers one by one. And then there are also a lot of engagement strategies that you can use to not just do a series of one-off posts, but to do kind of sequences or serials where you're kind of structuring your content in a way that's keeping people engaged. It's more episodic. And I think that that's one way to build an audience, because they're continuing to be interested in that content, whether you're answering the questions or doing something that you know, builds sort of tension and curiosity as you go.
Wonderful. Thank you, Marisa.
Sure thing.
Let's see here. I think that we have covered everybody's questions, and also just a lot of thank yous, and this was some eye-opening information, and like Mike said, he now has the tools to develop a real plan.
Awesome. So glad to hear it. Good luck implementing that.
So I would like, since we're kind of at the end of the questions, I would like to reiterate here. First of all, remember that there's that awesome bonus that expires here as the webinar comes to an end on that private 45-minute laser call with Marisa. And I can tell you that a session with her is truly powerful. So don't miss the opportunity. If you know that you want to do this, make the decision to do it now. And the other thing that I wanted to say is, as a strategic consultant for product launches myself and for implementing systems in business, what I can tell you is it's not about the action you take in your business. It's about the clarity that you get, the work you do, so that everything comes together, in your mind, in your brand, what you're trying to convey to the world. And then the action just unfolds rapidly. So this is the critical work. And I've never seen anyone express it better than Marisa. And here's your opportunity to plug into it. So don't miss this opportunity.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mynders. I really appreciate that. And I'm just going to say, if you are still on this call today, I assume that there's a reason for that. So if you're on the fence, I just want to encourage you to make a decision either way, whether that's a yes or a no. If it's a yes, make a decision so you can get that 45-minute session with me, because I know I can help you get unstuck, and I know I can help you focus in on what you really need to do. And the reason why I ask you to make a choice is what I find is so often with a lot of the big decisions of our lives, it's easy to kind of let the choice be made for us by waiting too long, by waiting until enrollment is closed, and by waiting until you don't have to make the choice and the choice is made for you. And I know from experience that I've never been successful when I've let other people in life make choices for me. So if you're still on the line, if you're on the fence, I just encourage you to make a decision either way. And before I go, I'd like to share with you one of my favorite quotes, and it's by Henry David Thoreau. And it kind of captures a truth that I've been trying to share with you today. And it goes along also with what Mynders was saying. It's not about the action you take in your business, but about the clarity that you have, and the action unfolds from that. So Thoreau said that one is not born into the world to do everything, but to do something. So I'd like to encourage you to go and do that something that you're here to do. Thanks so much. Have a good night, and this offer will be available for about 10 more minutes once the session closes. All right. Bye, everyone. Go out there and live your message.
Bye, everyone.